So I kind of view this podcast as kind of like a diary or records of my experience and sort of treat myself as a bit of a petri dish. And I wanted to say this, and I didn't know how to actually communicate it without, and I don't want it to be depressing, right? But I'm always struck by how sad I feel after doing research, after sitting and reading and going through work. It's inevitably at the end of the day, I'm always just like so sad inside. And I've tried, excuse me, I've tried things um, on how to mitigate this. Exercise does work, it does to some degree. Um, but I think this sort of caution or the passive reading through things and thinking about things is almost always extraordinarily sort of sad. And I don't know how to communicate that. And I'm not sure if that's like, from the outside, I don't know if I don't think I'm unusual. I think I'm actually pretty normal. Um, but I'm always struck and after, just kind of like as a diary of this, it's like, okay, what is it that I can change in my life in terms of like proactive? What is it that I can alter to change that? And I think it's like for me, I don't know exactly what that actually is. I think definitely more interaction, like face to face with other people interaction makes a huge difference in my life. Um, but also, doing things physically makes a big difference as well. Um, and I can't. There's another thing that I can't tease apart that is, challenging with all of this is it just because I'm exhausted at the end of the day because it's cognitively demanding to sit and do work. I don't know. I can't tease those emotions apart of what the sort of response is with it. And there's almost always, I think it's just like you get this peak of feeling great when you're reading through things. You're like, this is really exciting. And then you crash. And then you go through these sort of very dark moments of like, reflection on how do I keep doing this, right? Like, and I've been doing it for so long, thinking that emotion, that sort of behavioral response, whatever, if it's a cognitive response, would change, and I don't think it does. As you do this, it's a part of. It's just part of actually doing the work. Is this sort of state of yuckiness that you go through. Um, I think, if I look back and I think about moments that's better, it's always when there's more people that I'm interacting with, it's more engaging and more interesting. So the alone time by yourself is, I don't think it's healthy. But on the flip side, knowing that I don't, like as a researcher, as a scholar, I don't know how to actually change this given with what the work actually is and what we do. I think, people say that you work in groups and all that kind of stuff, but I, the type of group work that we do is far different. There's only been moments during my actual PhD that it was much more engaging, it was much more energizing, and it's very difficult to sort of replicate that experience. Um, and I think some of this. Um, I'm just thinking about like how do you structure your life in such a way that all of that sort of feeling disappears, and all of those sort of uncomfortable things. And I think the tracking it and figuring out, like, let's try to induce backwards, I think is helpful, in terms of how to change things. But I also think it's a structure, it's the nature of the work, it's a task that you're supposed to do. Um, I wish if people have tips, like they actually can solve this, let me know. I would love to hear what your thoughts are and how to deal with this, because it's honestly, I study all this kind of stuff, and I don't know what the solution is, because it's such a challenging problem that's repeated. Other than, I know that there's medication and all of that kind of stuff, and I'm not sure if that's me. And I think it's the nature of the work, not necessarily me per se, in terms of actually dealing with this. So if you have solutions or thoughts, let me know. I'd love to hear how you deal with this. All right, take care.